Hey everybody, it's Boardman21, and today we're going to do things a little different, and we're going to answer the 20 most asked questions in last Epoch, and I'm going to give you some answers and show you some videos on how to do things such as completing quests where a lot of people get stuck, or just the most common questions. These won't be things about future releases or of things like, multiplayer and stuff like that. I don't have those answers, but things that I can answer and that get asked almost daily, we're going to go over them. I will have it listed by each question in the thumbnail, so if you look through that list, you can see if there's any questions that you have and simply jump right to that spot in the video. With that, let's go ahead and get started with question number 1. So you've gotten into putting passives into your skill tree, and you've realized that you can put points into any class. Once you've put in 20 points into primals, it'll say unlock masteries. You'll click that, and then it opens up these 3 tabs in which you can start putting points. But you'll notice that if you put points into one, like I've put in 6 points so far into Beastmaster, that I'm not mastered in it. I can actually put points in any of these if I so choose. To actually get mastered, the first thing you must do is continue the storyline and reach the end of time. So as you're in the ruined area and you continue through, you'll eventually get to the temple, and then you'll have a final fight with the boss, big purple void thing, and that will take you to the end of time, which is where we at. Once you've reached the end of time, you want to go to the far left, and on the map, as we travel from over here all the way to the far left, you'll get to this staircase, and once you've gotten to the staircase, and there should be yellow pointers in your mini-map pointing you this way, you'll start up this long curvature spiral, not really staircase, more of a ramp, with a little bit of stairs. And once you get here, you're going to meet 2 people at the top. And these are the 2 people that you're going to talk to. You're going to talk to Mr. Edgar Gasper, who's going to continue the storyline for you, then say goodbye, which is going to light up this new guy. And this new guy is going to be the Forgotten Knight. And what he's going to do is open up this portal once you've talked to him. And this is where you're going to get to choose your mastery. You're going to go into the portal, like we are here, and once you've entered the portal, you're going to basically fight yourself a bunch. You don't have to, you can run past it all. I remember when they first implemented this, I ran in there and the things were like spawning 3 times more than they should, and I was getting killed over and over again. It was almost impossible to reach the end. That got fixed pretty quick. But for us, we're just going to run straight to the end, and then I can show you the 3 choices and how you'll do it. Some people have a little bit of trouble activating it. Alright, so we've reached the end, and what you'll see is 3 shadowy figures, and this is your 3 masteries. You've got the Druid Werebear, you can see the werebear shape. You've got your Beastmaster with his pets, and then you got the Shaman who's dual welding, and you've got your totem build. And what you do is you just talk to all 3 of them. This isn't how you make the choice, so you gotta talk to them and they'll start to light up this middle section. Once you've talked to all 3, a question mark will appear, which is pretty hidden in the shade. And once you get to that, you just talk to this, and this is where you're going to make your choice for a mastery. And once you make this choice, it is permanent. You can't change it later, so make sure that you already know what you want to do, or you've really thought about it, and you can come back to this later if you want. You can exit out of here and just come back and choose later. To get to this point in the game, it only takes a couple of hours, so releveling a new character to play a different way isn't a huge deal. But for us on this one, we're going Beastmaster. You choose it, you accept it, boom, you're a Beastmaster. You'll notice in your passives, it will now say Mastered underneath. You can still put points in other classes. This does not stop you from putting points into other classes. You will not be able to go above the halfway point in these other classes. Just like you can in the Beastmaster, it now opened up the top half, and we can now go all the way to the top of the tree. But you can still put points there. Another thing that I wanted to point out, because this is another asked question, but we're not going to cover it, but we'll cover it right here. You can put more than 20 points in here. This number will not change. All this 20 means is that's how far you've reached up on the line, and since you can't go above that, it maxes out at 20. The same thing will happen to the Shaman and Druid now that we're Mastered and Beastmastered. These will top out at 25 because that's the highest point you can get in the line. You can put more than 25 points in there. It will not raise the number above 25. The only spot that will happen is in Beastmaster, which for some reason you would think upon that logic it would tap out at 50, but it'll actually keep counting every point that you put in here, which I don't know if that's a setup for later down the road that these trees are actually going to get expanded and you'll be able to scroll up because it keeps counting, and I assume that it will keep going. But for now, it's just a weird thing that the points that you're mastered in will continue forever. The points in the base class max at 20, and the two you're not mastered in max out at 25 on the tab. So a lot of people get confused. They'll see a video, they'll say, hey, it says you only have 25 points, but you actually have 35 in there. Yeah, it doesn't count that. It's just going by the number of lines that you've gone up and you've maxed out at 25. And with that, let's get to question number 2. So question number 2, are stash tabs shared between all characters? And the answer is yes and no. So there are 4 game modes. You got softcore, hardcore, and then you have hardcore, softcore, solo self-found modes. On softcore, every character that you make on softcore, they all share the same stash tab. On hardcore, it's the same thing. They will not share stashes between hardcore and softcore, but on hardcore, every character that you make there will share the same stash tab and items that you found and put in there, as well as your gold and your crafting affixes. Hardcore solo and softcore solo will not share your stash tabs between characters. When you make a character there, it's considered a solo the first time character every time that you make one, and therefore if you put stuff in your stash tab, it's only going to affect that one character. And now for question number 3. Alright, question number 3, a study in time. This quest seems to get a lot of people. You have to remember that this is a time travel game. Also, I'm just going to say, spoiler alert, I am going to give you hints on how to actually do this, so if you're wanting to actually do this quest yourself, don't watch this one, go to the next question. So, we have a study in time. The objective is to investigate the Great College of Warren. And if you go to your map, you'll notice that you're in the Imperial era. We are at the Great College. And if you go up to the door, you'll notice that he says, you hear a voice from the other side, who are you, blah, blah, blah. He says that he'll wait you out. And that's your only hint. Really, you can't get past the door, and that to you is the end of the quest, and so you just don't know. There is a yellow arrow pointing out of here, but once you leave, it doesn't appear anymore, and you don't know where to go. The key words here in this was to wait you out. Basically, it means that you should travel into the future when he would be dead. And since the eras travel more and more back into time, that would mean you need to go back to the future. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go to the ruined area, and you're going to go into the ruins of Warren, but you're going to go to the ruined college where he has already died. You're going to go up there and grab the key off of his neck, then come back here and you can open the door. And that's pretty much how you do it. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it. I'm going to fast forward through it. It's going to be super fast, and I'll have some music playing for you. And voila. Alright, question number 4. What is glancing blow? And we hear this one a lot. So, chance to receive a glancing blow. If you just hover over it, it tells you that it grants a chance to only receive a glancing blow when you take a hit, and you take half damage from glancing blows. So what does that mean? Anytime you get hit, it means that you will have this percentage chance to receive the glancing blow, which means you will take half the damage that you would have if you didn't glance the blow. This does not apply to anything damage over time related. It is only on hits. So if you're hit with damage over time or you're standing in a pile of poison, this doesn't do you any good at all. The percentage. Once you get to 100%, you don't need any more. You'll see I have 110%. We went a little over. That extra 10% doesn't do you anything. It is nice to know you have that percentage. So say you want to craft some gear a little bit differently and you want to have a few percent less, or a piece that you found that's super nice that's already fractured has like 5% less on it, you can throw that on and you know that you'll still have 105%. Granted, you could have just tried out the item anyways and you would have known that you still had 100% even if this capped out and didn't read over 100. But the point is, anything over 100% doesn't do you any good. You don't double glance a blow. It's just one stack of it. The 100%, boom, you're done, and that's glancing blow. Question number 5. What is critical strike avoidance? Is it any good? Is it necessary in a build? Okay, just like glancing blow is definitely mandatory. You pretty much will always need it unless you're doing some sort of high ward build. Critical strike avoidance, if you're planning on pushing the super high arenas, yes, you will need it, or you will get critically struck and you will die, and you won't make it past 3 or 400 that you're trying to do. Critical strike avoidance can be put as a suffix on your gear, and what you're trying to get, you'll notice I have 0. I haven't put any because I'm a ward build on this character and I don't need it. But the point is as the tooltip says, it gives a chance to downgrade an enemy's crit hit on you to a regular hit, meaning that they no longer can crit you. If you have 20% critical strike avoidance, then 20% of the time when you would have been critted, it is downgraded to a regular hit. In other words, if you can get 100%, you will never get critically struck. One question you might have is, if someone has 100% critical strike chance, who wins out? The critical strike avoidance wins out. So if you are a werebear and you depend on doing crits on people and you get into PvP later on down the road and somebody has 100% critical strike avoidance, you're never going to crit them, and that means you're going to run out of mana, which sucks for a werebear build. On top of that, critical strike avoidance, you can get done with only 3 suffixes. I believe it taps on at 37% with a max rolled T5. So all in all, you can have critical strike avoidance, you can get 100% with just 3 fixed slots, whereas glancing blow takes 4 T5 slots. But I would recommend in any sort of face tank build, melee build, or any build that's not completely ward based, if you're going protections, I would get 100% critical strike avoidance and 100% glancing blow. Those are pretty much 2 things that you'll want to have. And question number 6. What is ward? Ward is just like energy shield from Path of Exile. It's extra health. It's health that decays over time, but it acts just like health. Any formulas that use health in their equation, it's going to be used, and it's always changing. Right now, you'll see that on this build that I'm currently having, we're stabilized around 1695 ward. That's about how much that we sit at just normally. We can generate more through the use of flame ward or passives, such as lost knowledge that gives us 70 more ward game whenever we use a skill of at least 40 mana, which would just be like Glacier. You'll see it jumps up. And the reason we're stabilized around 1700 and we're not actually decaying all the way down to 0 is because of our item in Zanguius, which is giving us a portion of our misting health as ward every second. Ward is one of those things that if you can stack enough of it, it's way more useful than armor and protections. In fact, if you look at the ladder board, you'll notice that Lich and Sorcerer, these are ward builds, and they're the highest ones. Forge Guard by Misha. This is a armor and protections build, and a very well built one that took months and hours of dedication to crafting just perfect items. Point being, ward is something that you can stack, and you can slow down the decay of it with ward retention. And what this does is the more int you have, or actual ward retention through idols and stuff, will actually slow down the decay. And things like in Zanguius, where you have a set number, like if I got my ward retention up to say 350%, I would sit closer to 1900 ward instead of 1700. But the main fact to take away about ward is that ward counts as health. So if the more ward you have, the less your armor and protections will be, the less you're protected from them. Question number 7. What is the Monolith of Fate, the arena, and how do I get keys to enter the arena? Okay, the Monolith of Fate is one of the end game systems. When you reach the end of time, you can do this right off the bat the first time you reach the end of time, or you can finish the entire story and campaign and do this later. The Monolith of Fate is something that, one, scales with your level. So the mobs inside of it will be your level. You're level 80, they're level 80. You're level 100, they're level 100, and they get harder. Basically what you do is every time you go up to it, you're going to choose option 1 or option 2, and these will be things like, giving your enemies a chance to dodge, or increasing their physical damage, increasing their void damage, making them have critical strike chance, doing all sorts of things and mods. That's basically what you're giving your enemies. Once you've chosen one, you'll have the option to start it. If you don't like the two options, you can re-roll one time and you'll have two new options. You'll have a chance to apply mark for death. You'll have chance to shred armor, or enemies will have chance to shred armor on you, and things like that. You can no longer re-roll after the first one, you just have to choose one and start. And once you've done that, you will start it, you'll go through, there'll be an objective you have to complete, and once you've completed it, you'll leave, and then you'll come back to the stone again, and it will say Timelines Conquered 2. That's as long as you don't die before the quest is completed. If you have minions and they complete the quest while you're dead, it will still count as a completion, and you'll still get a conquered timeline. You must conquer 5 in a row to get a guaranteed key from the chest at the end. You will get a key guaranteed for every 5 timelines that you conquer in a row. There's also a smaller chance that you'll get a key on any completed timeline conquered. I could get one on this run, but it's a very small chance. Once you've captured a key, which will look like this beautiful arena key here, you can then go to the other end game system and you simply put the key in the slot, and then you'll go into an endless run of waves where random mobs will spawn from the 4 corners, and you go until it gets so hard that you get killed, or until you get so bored that you leave. And that's the arena, Monolith of Fate, and how to get keys. Question number 8. Why can't I stack my affix shards? So I've seen this on a couple of streams, and people will actually one by one move all of these affixes over into their stash tab. I have seen people have multiple stash tabs filled with these, and they keep asking, why can't I stack them? And people will ask, why can't I stack them? Well, you can stack them. The key, don't put them in your stash. What you're supposed to do with these is, as you collect them and they fill up your inventory, you want to click the store crafting items. As soon as I click that, you're going to see that this one and this one will disappear. Now, where did they go? They don't go in your stash tab. None of these do. As I store them and you push F, it will open up your forge, and they are automatically all stored in here, where you can go down the entire list and click on them and use them for crafting. And here they will stack. You'll see that if I scroll down, I have 6,000 poison protection ones. So they do stack, and you just have to click the store crafting items to put all of them into the forge inventory, and don't individually put them all into your stash tab. Question number 9. Can I block a dodged hit? Or can I dodge a blocked hit? And the answer is no to both of those. Dodge and block are two separate things, and they don't interact. So as things are firing projectiles at you or swinging swords at you, you'll have a chance to dodge. Here I have a 17% chance to dodge. If I dodge what would have been a hit, I completely avoid it. I take no damage, it doesn't proc any on-hit things, and you just completely forget that it ever happened. Now, if you do get hit, that means you didn't dodge, which means dodge is irrelevant. You took the hit. Now, when you take a hit, you have a chance to both block it and to glancing blow it. In this case, any hit that we take, we will glancing blow it. We will only receive 50% damage. Then there's a 33% chance that we will block the hit. when you block a hit, you are not reducing all of the damage that you take. You are simply adding your block protection to whatever protection it is that took the hit. So if we got hit by fire right now and we didn't block it, we would receive a 36% reduction in the damage we took. However, if we did block it for fire, we would receive a 60% reduction in damage because it would add this 843 protection onto the 525 that we have. Question number 10. How do I re-spec or choose a different skill to specialize in? And this is really simple. You'll simply push S and you'll go into your skills, which you probably already know if you're asking this question, and you'll see that you have your 5 specializations. If you just click on one that you no longer want to use, or if you want to respec it a different way, you will see this respec option. Up here, once you click it, you have 2 choices. You can remove skill points, which means you can remove 1 point at a time and then re-level it to use those points somewhere else in the tree, or you can despecialize the skill altogether. So if I remove points, and you can't just remove one in the middle, you must remove at the end of the tree and work your way back, I can remove 1 point. You'll see my level now dropped. I'll have to re-level it, and then I can put that point somewhere else. I take another one, boom, it's now a level 16 skill. I'll have to re-level it and go back. I can also despecialize the skill altogether. Boom, it's gone. It's no longer there. If I re-click it, it will not be level 16. If I click it again and specialize, it's now level 1 again, and you can go a different route. Question number 11. Can I respec my passive points, and how do I do it? The answer is yes, and you do it by going to the purple icon, the Chronomancer, which is in 2 locations. It is both here in the end of time at the very bottom of the map, and you will also find it in the Ruined Era. If you go to Council Chambers, they will be there as well. All you do is click on this person, you'll say respecialize mastery point allocations, and then you can respec points. All it costs is a little bit of gold. I can go in here and I can start taking out points. I instantly get those points back that I can spend somewhere else. A lot of people say I can't take out the base 20 points that I have, and if you click on one of these, which I will get us down to 20 here real quick, you'll see it says you must have at least 20 points. So you can't go under that. But if you no longer want these and you are looking to go somewhere else, it's as simple as putting the points back in somewhere else. So now I have 25 in there, and I can pull the points out of where I had. With that little trick, you may not be able to go under 20 points, but you can respec it to the way that you want. Question number 12. Can I unfracture a fractured piece of equipment? Woohoo, so you've been enchanting, and boom, fractured. Now you got this lovely crack looking thing over your little crafted item, and it says fractured underneath the name. The answer, no. Now once it's fractured, it's done. This is a done item. You can no longer fix it. You can't craft on it. It's done. One thing you can do, you can shatter it and then get the shards from it. But that's all that you can do. Question number 13. What happens if I have more than 100% chance to apply an ailment? So as many of you know, you have bleed chance, poison chance, ignite chance, shock, chill, slow, blind, blah 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 blah. And the point is that almost all of these stack. And what that means is you can apply more than one of them with every 100% chance that you have. So, for instance, this build I have here says that I have a 76% chance to ignite. If I hit an enemy with a skill, not a damage over time skill, but a regular skill, I will have a 76% chance to ignite them on hit with any skill. In my character sheet, this is only global chance, which means that this will affect all skills that you use. It doesn't mean that this is your total ignite chance altogether for a skill. For instance, if I use Fireball right now and hit an enemy with a Fireball, I actually have more than a 76% chance. But because it's not global, you don't see it there. For instance, I have Soulfire. This passively gives me a 30% chance to ignite on hit. That 30% chance is in here. If I take this off, that drops down to a 46% chance. So this 30% at the top, where it says under the Soulfire Relic Unique Solar Ensign, 30% chance to ignite on hit. That's global. Now below, you'll see I have a 200% chance to ignite on hit with fire skills and necrotic skills. That means that I will apply 2 stacks of Ignite. I will do double the damage of 1 stack of Ignite if I hit them with a skill that is a fire skill or a necrotic skill. Like Fireball, which is a fire skill, it will have a 200 plus 76% chance to apply Ignite, which means I have 2 stacks that I'm guaranteed to apply, and then a 76% chance with every hit to have a third Ignite chance on it. The reason you don't see this 200% chance reflected on this screen is because it's not global. If I hit them with something else like Elemental Nova that only has a lightning tag, then I'm not using a fire or necrotic skill, and therefore I'm not applying the 200% chance to ignite. And that's why it's not reflected. This is your global character sheet, which means that this 76% will work with every skill. Things that only work with certain skills are not reflected in here. Same thing with Calamity. I have another 150% chance to ignite on hit with fire skills. This only affects fire skills. So if I were to use a necrotic skill, I would be able to do 276% chance to ignite, but I wouldn't get the extra 150 here. Whereas with Fireball, a fire skill, I get the 200 plus the 150 plus the 76. So you're looking at 426% chance to ignite, which means that I will guarantee do 4 stacks and have another 26% chance to apply a 5th stack on every hit that I do. And that works for all of your ailments. Bleed works the same way, poison works the same way, unless it specifically says on here that there is a maximum amount of stacks that you can have, such as Chill, which can only have 3 stacks on an enemy. Then in this case, having more than a 300% chance to apply it would be pointless because you're already at the maximum amount of stacks. But for damage over time builds, you basically want as much chance to apply it as possible. Question number 14. Can I craft on a unique? The answer is no. You cannot craft on a unique. Even if you throw one into your forge and it says that there are 2 available prefixes and 2 available suffixes, you are not allowed to craft into it. Unfortunately, they are just the way they are. They are unique and you are not able to mess around with them at all. You cannot shatter them. You cannot do anything to them, and luckily that means you can't fracture them. So they'll be as good as they are when you find them. You can't use ruins of refinement. You can't do anything with them. Once you have a unique, that's how it is, and it's not going to change. Question number 15. What is adaptive spell damage and how does it affect my spells? So a lot of you have noticed in the most recent patch that they switched base spell damage over to a adaptive spell damage, and you have things like this wand that has a plus 58 adaptive spell damage affix. So how does that work? So what that does is it just adds a base flat amount of spell damage to whatever skill it is that you're using. For instance, I have Fireball. If I use Fireball, it's going to have 58 flat fire spell damage as its base. On top of that, if I were to use, say, Elemental Nova and I had a fire and I had a lightning tag, it would actually split that. You would now have 29 fire and you would have 29 lightning flat spell damage on that hit. Therefore, you would be doing 2 types of damage with every hit that you did, and it would split across all of them. So if you'd had all 3 elements in an Elemental Nova, you would have fire, cold, and lightning. It would split 3-way, so it would be 20, 19, 19. I don't know which one would get the 20. Don't ask me that. I just know that it would equally split. Maybe it goes decimal and it would be divided by 3 and equally split. That's actually how I think it would work. But what it is if you have more than 1 element in your spell tag, it's going to evenly distribute the added spell damage as base flat damage in whatever categories it is that you have. Question number 16. What is the difference between flat and increased affixes to a stat, such as, and we're going to cover critical strike chance. So you have your 3 types of critical strike chance. You have overall critical strike chance, which affects everything. Then you have spell, which is directly for spells, and you have melee, which is directly for melee critical strike chance. So the base for all 3 is 5%, and then as you increase it with, say you get into a passive tree and it says 20% increased critical strike chance, it's going to increase your base by said percentage. So if you have 5% base, you take one node that has a 20% increase, that's going to give you 6% chance to now critically strike. So things like a catalyst, like here I have a one-handed catalyst, and this has a base 5% spell critical strike chance up above, right under the plus 11 intelligence, and I have 52% increased spell critical strike chance. Because it's all spell related, it's only going to increase my spell critical strike chance, but when I put it on, you'll see that it jumped a huge percentage. It didn't jump 52% like the increased spell critical strike chance, but it did jump massively, and what that did is your base went up by 5, which means everywhere that you have increased spell or regular critical strike chance is going to increase that percentage. So my base now is 5 plus the 5 you already have, which is 10, and then you have 52% more, which is another 5 to 5.2% on that 10 base, which would give you 15% more critical strike chance. This jumped up by more than 15 because in my passives I have critical strike chance and such, but anything that's global that says increased will give you an increase off of your base amount. It's not an added amount. Anything that just says flat, so like the plus 5% spell critical strike chance, it doesn't say increased. So that's an added amount, which means it's going to be added to the base, and then anywhere where it says increased percentage is going to increase that base percentage that you have. So just this catalyst alone, if this was our only source of spell critical strike chance, you didn't have a base or anything else, you would have 7.5% chance because you have a 5% base plus a 52% spell increased critical strike chance. And that works with anything in the game, no matter what it is. If you have a skill that says that it gives you more base chance, you're going to have that base chance added to the normal base chance of that skill, and anywhere that you have global increased critical strike chance is going to increase that base percentage. Question number 17. Will classes be gender locked at release? As of right now, yes, classes will be gender locked. The ones you see here will be the ones that you have. And the reason for this is, as they have explained, is they don't have enough manpower right now to redo all of the animations and everything that it would take for art and everything to include a gender choice by the time the game is released. They did not say, however, that it would never be an option. So it is possible that sometime after release that it might happen. But as for now, it is not going to have a gender choice at release. Some other things that people have been asking, such as MTX, multiplayer, and all of those things, in the link below there is a link to the forecast. And right now we are just beginning, at the time this video is released, phase 3. So that should give you a general idea of when other things will be released, such as the rogue and other things. Other things you can do, there is now an Epoch bot inside of the last Epoch Discord channel. Simply use an exclamation point and then type the words help, and you'll have a list of commands that will allow you to kind of ask questions. It's kind of limited, but it will tell you kind of when some future things are being released or what the current timetable is. And it also has a link to the Discord channel so you can invite new people to it, and it also has a link to the forecast as well if you ask for it. Question number 18. Are minions totems? Are totems minions? Are minions companions? Are companions minions? A lot of people get confused by the different terminology, and we're going to sum it up real quick with the little all rectangles are squares but not all squares are rectangles logic. So, all companions are minions, but not all minions are companions. All totems are minions, but not all minions are totems. So what this means is, if you are playing a Beastmaster and you have companions, anything that relates to minion damage minion health, minion damage, minion spell damage. All of that will increase your companion damage. If you have something that is strictly companion related, like +1 maximum companions, that is only for companions. That is not for minions. That doesn't raise the maximum amount of totems you can have, or the maximum amount of, if you were to wear that on a lich, maximum amount of skeletons or something else that you could have. It's only for companions. If you have something that increases minion health, like you have plus 30% minion health. That increases companions' health. That'll increase minions' health, such as your skeletons or anything on lich. It will increase your totems' health because totems are minions. So just one more time to reiterate that, all companions are minions. Not all minions are companions. All totems are minions. Not all minions are totems. So basically everything is a minion. Another thing, if you're looking to increase damage, things like increased minion damage, increased minion physical damage, things like that have tags. You can go down to, like, say your raptor, and you can look over it. Its minion ability tags is melee and physical, which means that the two tags on this would increase its damage. Both minion damage will increase it, and minion physical damage will increase it, because you can hover over any skill, see its tags, and the raptor has a physical tag. Question number 19. How do I know what will increase the damage of the skill that I'm using? And for that we have tags. It's really quite simple. Any skill that you have, you can hover over it and it will tell you exactly what kind of things will increase the damage that it does. For instance, if I wanted to use Furry Leap as my main skill and I wanted it to do more damage, I can look at the tags and it says that I have a physical tag, a melee tag, a movement, and a strength tag. I could get strength on items, or strength through passives, strength, will, and you can push alt. Alt is your best friend. And you will see that strength, every point of it will increase the damage by 4%. For physical and melee, I could have a weapon, most weapons, like say this good old spiked club that we have, has 23 melee physical damage. What that means is the flat melee damage of this spiked club will be used by Furry Leap. So it will be based, the base damage of this, the base flat damage, will be based off of my weapon, which will have that 23 melee physical damage. You will have things in here that say spell, or it will say lightning, it will say fire. Basically, whatever tag it has, all you have to do is use a passive, use a skill, or use an item that's been crafted that increases that said tag, and your damage will go up. Things that also people can find confusing is fire, lightning, and cold is all elemental. So using an affix that says increase your elemental damage, it will increase fire, lightning, and it will increase cold. It will increase all three of those damages all in one. And for question number 20, our last question, we're going to discuss throwing damage. So a lot of people get confused. They want to know what increases throwing damage. And we're going to start off with your weapon does nothing for throwing damage. If I use throw hammer against this dummy, you'll see that we're hitting from 24 to about 34 damage, which is what we have with no weapon equipped. If I throw on, say, the Eye of Rain, which has a bunch of melee physical damage and such, and I throw this on and I continue to use it, you'll see we're still hitting for between 24 and 34 damage. Your weapon does nothing to increase throwing attack damage unless it specifically states that it is throwing attack damage. Meanwhile, you can get throwing damage on your rings and amulet and several things. For instance, this amulet has 35% increased throwing attack damage. If I were to take that off and then continue my throwing attacks, you'll see that we're now hitting in the high teens, low 20s, and it does make a difference. Passives can increase it, skills can increase it, but unless throwing damage is specifically tied in to your affix and it says this increases throwing attack damage, then melee flat damage and all of those do not actually increase it at all. Throwing damage is one of those affixes where there's not a whole lot of things for it, and there's no weapons that really have it as a base affix. It's one of those things that you really have to look for, and there are some idols that increase. I know there's some gloves that increase your throwing attack damage, some rings that you can put throwing speed on, but as for like just finding weapons in the beginning of a game, usually you're not going to have any that have throwing damage. And that sums up our 20 questions. I hope that if you've had any questions, that one of these 20 were one of them, and that I've been able to answer it for you. Thanks.